Lisa Peterson here, and I'm so glad you've joined me for Module 4. We are going to be talking about creating more mindful wealth in your life. And so, what causes us to settle into our comfort zone? What is it? Why would anyone remain stuck in place if they found themselves wanting more from life? Why aren't we easily able to bring more money into our lives when we want it? In the end, it comes down to fear. Fear is a primal energy that keeps us safe and tries to protect us. Primal because it goes back to the time when we were, being chased by saber-toothed tigers and we had to get away. It is also something that is innate in being human, this desire to be safe, to survive, to live. The only problem is that we're not running from animals anymore. And all too often, you wouldn't really know it by the way that our reactions to situations that we don't want to have happen to us turn out. So when we get fixated on fear, we often end up turning it into worry, anxiety, stress, which keeps us from living in the present moment. The problem is that we have to develop a way to be in non-resistance to fear in order to grow and thrive in life. When it comes to, the educational system and the culture that we live in, we're just not learning how to do that non-resistance. It also is very difficult to do on our own because our natural inkling is going to be just stay safe, stay in that comfort zone. What we really need to do is learn how to let it be, to accept, to allow, to be able to step back and be present with the things that are happening to us and not be so intimidated by the fear that comes up. Realizing that it's just an experience. Oftentimes it is tied into the beliefs that we have about a situation, and it's based on our past experiences being projected forward, and unfortunately we sort of take this, what's the worst thing that can happen, and we tend to focus on that. We all know what that feels like, right? So we need to be able to move beyond pushing it away, beating ourselves up, because neither of those really work. We know that too. One thing that does work, which is kind of counterintuitive, I think, is that we can actually be in mindful awareness and also realize that a lot of times we're holding on to a lot of stuff that's ready to be let go of. It's one of the reasons why I encourage people to look inside of the grudges that we hold on to. Those grudges can be towards ourselves, and they can be towards others. They can also be towards God or, some higher power, like, why is this happening to me? Why don't I have any control over it? And then that spirals out of control, and next thing you know, we're in this sort of resentment. The only way to get rid of resentment is actually engaging in the practice of forgiveness. It's part of the reason why I talk about forgiveness so much, and I've created several meditations to help us to forgive ourselves first, to forgive others, and also to ask for forgiveness from others as a mental visualization exercise that we do in our meditations. It's amazing. I mean, nothing is like it when we get the hang of it. Imagine being able to move through really terrible things that in the past we would have dwelled on and had them, feel like they were in our backpack, full of rocks that just weighed us down all the time. Imagine taking those rocks out of the backpack because you're no longer holding on to the grudges and you're truly in this place of acceptance, of forgiveness. I should say, because people, I think, get misunderstood when, they think about forgiveness. It's never about condoning the actions that have happened to us in the past. It's not saying that it was okay. It's merely realizing that we're holding on to this poison inside of us and we're ready to let it go. It's not hurting the other person. It's actually hurting us. So I wanted to share that with you. I also will mention that I have a great article that I recently wrote on my blog post, the 27 ways to overcome your fears with money. So check that out. There's a ton of resources in that blog post. There are also many other ways to dive into the fears so that we can move beyond them, transcend them. noticing that so much of our life is tied into these fears. And I often teach about the ability to emotionally clear the fear. That is a more in-depth process, but it's something I'll just plant the seed with you now to know that there are really numerous ways to move through fear so that it no longer has control of your life. Instead, you have the ability to control yourself and where you're headed and what you want to bring into, this incredible experience that we have. So finally, I just think that, learning about the idea that we can move through fear is really, really helpful. I love talking about it. It's something that I think we don't hear enough about. I think a lot of times it's like, stuff it down, ignore it. But I'm going to tell you that doesn't actually work. And it will bring a lifelong series of problems when we don't address our fears. So for that, I just think that this has been wonderful. I'm excited to share one more video with you that will dive into kind of the summary of money and mindfulness. I think you'll definitely enjoy it. It'll give you some resources to continue this work and this journey that we're on together. So thank you so much for your time. Namaste.